You're listening to Honey, We Made a Disney Podcast. Two friends since spelling hello with our calculators. Now dads reliving the Disney movies we grew up on with our own kids. I'm JB Waggoner.
And I'm Eddie Ferguson. And on today's episode, we're not sure if our high school chemistry teacher would make any big league as we review The Rookie. But first, before that, JB, how are you and the family doing? You guys doing okay?
Doing good. We recently celebrated another milestone for my son. So obviously we had a few family over. He's got his best friend and their family over. So the boys don't go to the same school, so they don't get to see each other quite as much as they used to when they were just in preschool. So whenever they do get together, it's always like a momentous occasion, getting them to come hang out and stuff like that. And they hadn't seen each other a while, and bringing them together, pumping them full of sugar and cake and other things like that. And things started getting kind of riled up. We're sitting there just talking. All of a sudden we hear a slam, and then there was a pot that had broken. And then later on, after having dinner, they went out into the backyard and they were just jump on the trampoline. And I just had this sixth sense, like that dad sense, where like I haven't checked on them in a while. So I just peered my head out, and they are wrestling, but there's always the question mark. Is it fun wrestling? Are they having a good time? Or is this like, no, this has escalated beyond it? And I look and I see the fire in their eyes and the throwing of arms that aren't landing anything because they're too close to each other. And my daughter is on the side of the trampoline. They're pushing up against it, like crying hysterically. And the two boys are just tussling so hard. And it's just like, whip open the door. Hey, stop that. Come out. We have to like make each other apologize to each other, all of that. And then we're like, does anybody want cupcakes? Yes, cupcakes. And then everybody was fine. But so it was a little bit of an emotional roller coaster of a birthday party.
Cupcakes solve so many problems.
We should bring that to all of Twitter. Needs more cupcakes.
I have been off Twitter for a month now.
How are you surviving?
Is that shocking? I don't know. I've been doing all right. It is now going to be bought by one Elon Musk. That has officially happened too.
Is that today? Did that just come? I know that he was now coming back around to it.
Yeah, he's coming back around. I don't think it's finalized, but he's come back around.
It's not final. Okay.
So let's tweet at Elon Musk. Add cupcakes to Twitter.
Hand out more free cupcakes.
And not digital emoji cupcakes. No,
Real
I want to click a button and be able to send this person a real cupcake.
I'm going to start doing that from now on. You sound like you need a cupcake. I had a friend who it is not the same thing, but I had a friend today at lunch go on a rant, like a political rant. Not political. I can't remember what rant it was. Oh, what was it? Oh, he went on I'm going to have to edit this. So I was at lunch with a friend who went on a rant about something, semi-political, semi-hot button issue. And then we just sat there for a moment after he finished. And then my friend goes, "Sir, this is a Wendy's drive-thru." And it was perfect. So Steve, I don't even know if you listen. I think you do listen to the podcast. Thank you for your humor. In that moment, it was amazing. It was the perfect. We all were just like, that's 100% the way to respond to things where you're like, how do I respond to this? So I loved it. But enough about me and our political and family feuds. Let's talk about some Disney news.
Hold on. Before you go, I think if we ever get a merch store, some t-shirts that say, "You look like you could use a cupcake."
I'm down for that. I'm going to start.
Or do you need a cupcake? Something like that. We need to.
I'm on Vistaprint right now making these t-shirts. So there we go. One of the few Disney news we have this week. Last week we had a ton of it. But this week, the big news, it's not big news. It's just some updates from Marvel. They're just letting us know that they've delayed a couple movies. The most obvious one that we all kind of were pretty sure was going to happen just based off of the first release dates It was Avengers, Secret Wars, and Kang Dynasty. They were going to be like 6 months apart when they first released the dates in 2025. And Secret Wars, the second of those films, they've pushed it off from November 2025 to May. So that was a good move. I don't think anybody has any qualms about that. It's like, yeah, don't release 2 giant Avengers movies in the same year. Give us a little bit more time between that.
And it's not here in what you send in the release dates. Though they moved up Deadpool, did you see the video with Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds? I think the whole world saw this.
It was great.
Of Wolverine is going to be in Deadpool 3. I have never seen any of the Deadpool movies.
They're pretty intense. The first 2 were the 2 of them were pretty intense, and we may have had to fast forward a lot of that first one. We're like half this movie. I'm like, oh, there's just we're
too much.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. But the release video alone is worth it to see Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman kind of announcing this. It was pretty.
And the second one,
clever. It was well done.
The second one was great when they talk about, hey, this is what the movie's going to be about, and then it goes
and the music plays over them.
Music over top of them, and they're just like acting out all of these different things. Loved that energy.
But yeah, I think nobody believed that you could get 2 Avengers films out within 6 months, especially all this bad press that they're getting with all the VFX artists. Like I don't know if I'm seeing more and more of these articles come out of like borderline slave labor of how they're treating some of these artists.
Yeah, it's not good for them right now.
Just to crank all this out, and everybody lays it straight at the feet of Marvel of just like, this is Marvel's fault. This is Marvel's fault. Like, whoa, okay.
Yep. So Deadpool, it's now moved back 1 month, 2 months, a little bit later into 2024. Another film that just got delayed, due heavily to the fact that they are looking for a new director is Blade, which is starring Mahershala Ali. I butchered that so badly.
Mahershala Ali. Yeah.
So Basim Tariq, he left the picture, and so now they're looking for a new director. So that pushed back from September 6, 2024 to it's now in September 6, 2024. It had previously going to be at the end of next year.
Have you watched Werewolf by Night yet?
I have not.
I have not either, but I'm hearing really good buzz, and then apparently there's a Blade connection.
Ooh. I've seen some thumbnails to point to that. So I'm gonna have to check that out. It's on my list. It just haven't had the time to do it yet. We had birthday parties, like I talked about before, and other things happening to where.
Well, we also had one of our favorite TV shows just got released on Netflix, the 3rd season of Dairy Girls.
Oh,
have you watched this show?
Watched that.
Yeah, horrible language, but it's set in Northern Ireland in the 1990s.
Okay.
Like you don't understand half the things that they're saying, but yeah, that's what we've been watching.
The other thing that got bumped is Fantastic Four. I was expecting more information about this, especially after there was a cameo inside of
and it's Feige's favorite. Like he is open, like this is his favorite. This is his baby to see a good Fantastic Four finally come to screen.
Yeah. They pushed this.
But we haven't heard anything.
Nothing at all. This got pushed back 3 months from November 2024 to the next February 2025. 2025 is going to have a lot of content in it. But yeah, so those are some of the headlines that just popped up recently of some changes coming for some of the Marvel films.
They're just shifting everything around. Everything's getting all moved around.
I'm looking at our dates right now from Phase 5 when we talked about this earlier in the year, a couple months ago. and at Comic-Con when they release all this stuff. And yeah, there's definitely already some moving around and stuff like that. But it's okay. We'll keep you up to date as these things come and go. But some things stay for a long time. We talked about this beforehand. We want to talk about favorite Halloween films now that we're fully into the Halloween mode.
Tis the season.
Eddie, when I said, hey, let's do top 5, you were like, ooh, I don't know that I have 5 Halloween films that I really love.
Did you have 5?
I wrote down I wrote down several films. I don't know how. Should we clarify what we mean by Halloween films? Because it can be broad. I don't think it's as big. Like,
I think it's
Christmas,
to each his own.
Christmas films basically have to happen on Christmas. I don't feel the same way about Halloween. I don't feel like it needs to be set on Halloween. It just needs to be either Halloween themed, like it takes place on Halloween, or just spooky, scary.
I would agree with that, because I would say my number 1 does not take place on Halloween. It's just very, as I just said, 'tis the season. My other 2 that I thought of initially, yes, are very much Halloween, take place on Halloween movies.
So we're going to do this. We're going to do our top 3. So we're going to count down 3, 2, 1. Did you have them ranked, or do you just have 3 of them?
I'd say these are ranked.
Ranked. Okay. Gotcha. Do you want to start us off with number 3?
Number 3, I chose It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. This is one of my absolute favorites, with Linus waiting for the Great Pumpkin. It's just kind of a very Charlie Brown-esque take on Halloween. And I think everybody talks about like the Thanksgiving episode, or especially the Christmas one. This, for me, is definitely the underrated of all of them. And we always watch it every Halloween. Even before we had kids, like, I watched it every year just because I like Charlie Brown so much. So I'd say number 3 for me is It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown.
Okay. Well, my number 3 for here is one that I hadn't actually seen till last year, but it's a classic. I hadn't seen it all the way through before. I'd seen like moments and stuff because people talk about it a lot. There was a great podcast series about it that came out in 2018 or 2019, a limited series. So my number 3 is Halloween, Michael Myers. I hadn't seen that ever. Great spook, great jumps, great long, like, how are we gonna ever kill this guy? What's he gonna do next? Where is he gonna pump up next? There's been a million sequels to it. Most of them I haven't seen or even thought about trying to see because they look so hokey.
Well, and then apparently the last one, quote unquote, just came out.
This is
with Jamie Lee Curtis coming back. Yeah, this is supposed to be.
Maybe this is the time she kills him, until a decade later when they're like, you know what we need? We need another reboot.
We need another Halloween.
Of Halloween. Yep. So number 3 is Halloween. It's a more traditional Halloween movie.
And I have to say, I have not seen it either. I have never seen Halloween. Somehow that escaped me. As a kid, I don't really remember liking really scary movies too much.
Yeah.
And a lot of this stems from when I was in elementary school. We were over at my cousin's house and we watched Child's Play, like the Chucky movie.
Oh, no.
Haunted my nightmares for years. And ever since then, I now enjoy a good, really scary movie, but it takes a lot.
Well, they brought it turn it into a TV series on Peacock, so you can can join back in, Eddie.
Well, and then I jumped forward and it was like in high school. Then I remember being over at Derek Anger's house and we watched The Ring and scared the living daylights out of me. Mm-hmm. That was like the second scary movie I ever remember watching in my life because I don't really like them so much. So there's that. Number 2 for me is Hocus Pocus. This is very much a tradition. Like, we watch it every year around Halloween week. It's just, we could go on and on of how just nostalgia and good that movie is. But yeah, it is a must watch. It is a must watch for Halloween.
You can listen to our review of both Hocus Pocus earlier I'll have to go look and see which episode number it is. But then last week we talked about Hocus Pocus 2 and our just fondness for how they handled bringing that back. My number 2 is one that Colby is one that my wife introduced me to when we got married. She loves scary films, loves all of them, so she's brought me into the fold on a lot of these. But The Conjuring, it is one of the best scary films ever. It's on the Mount Rushmore of all scary films for a lot of people. And it's fantastic, great acting, great storyline. We were just talking today about how we want to watch that again this Halloween season, because it's just one of the best freaky movies out there. It's awesome.
I've never seen it.
I think you should.
Yeah, I've not seen any on your list so far. And The Conjuring, they've done a couple of them.
Yes, there's a whole Conjuring universe. There's not only the primary couple who it's based off of this one couple who went out and did a lot of conjuring, a lot of conjuring that they did. And my wife right now, as she's listening to the podcast, she's saying the names. These are the names of the people. I can't remember their names, but it's great. It's a great movie whose names I can't remember.
All of you should go watch it.
All of you, yes.
All of you.
But they not only do follow their story in several different movies, but then they also spur off and go, hey, this random thing that they were kind of loosely connected to? Well, we're going to do a whole backstory to that thing too. So that's where number 2, The Conjuring is for me. So, Eddie, what was your number 1?
Not per se a Halloween movie, but we watch it every year around Halloween. Harry Potter. And I would say particularly the first 3 are feel much more fall Halloweenish to me. And I know I've heard this online of other people. There's like certain people that they would say, no, Halloween is more Christmas. I watch it at Christmas time. And then there's others who say, no, it's more of a Halloween thing.
It's definitely Halloween. I would agree.
I would say it's definitely Halloween. And we just find ourselves every October watching several of the Harry Potter movies. And in particular, those first few just feel very Halloweenish to me.
Prisoner of Azkaban, that soundtrack.
So good. The last one Williams did for Harry Potter.
Oh, was John Williams for that?
Yeah, John Williams scored the first 3 Harry Potters. And that main theme.
Yeah, I knew he did the first theme, so.
Yeah. He did the first 3 films.
That's why they're so beloved. That was on my honorable mentions. I have that on my honorable mention. The Ring, for sure. When you said it, I'm always like, oh, should I pull that back up? I couldn't watch the ending of that movie the first 9 times I watched it. It was just so freaky, her pulling her hair back and stuff like that.
I just have the memory of after watching that at Derek's house and all of us being so freaked out. And then I think Caleb went to the bathroom and we all went and got cups of water and dumped water under the door jamb.
Oh, yes.
And he's like, I hate you all.
I hate you all. I also had Skeleton Key on here, another really good one, and Hitchcock, The Birds. I just want to take an entire Halloween time to just watch a bunch of Hitchcock films, as many as I can get a hold of for cheap.
I didn't know Hitchcock would be valid in this. Okay, now we're off to the races.
There's a lot of good ones. It's not the first thing I think of when I think of Halloween, but it should be, right? Like Psycho,
for sure.
The Birds. That's
for
my
sure.
top. That's on my list for sure.
I really like Vertigo is a really good one. Rear Window, so good. Rope was always one of my favorites. Rope is it's like a 90-minute movie, and it it's like sequential. It's 90 minutes. Like the story is 90 minutes. So you're watching everything live as it unfolds. And it's a very twisted, kind of cynical storyline called Rope, where these guys are trying to pull off the perfect murder and also like brag about it.
That's one of the Hitchcocks that I have not seen yet. So
yeah,
I need to add
if you can get your hands on Rope, it's really intriguing. It's very original.
Yep. But my number one, so those are all my honorable mentions, but my number one, the one that I watch every single year, and it was the first DVD I ever watched because I saw it at I forget which of the now defunct Best Buy alternate stores. Oh, what was it called? It was like the
Circuit
competitor
City?
Circuit City. Saw this at Circuit City. I was walking through, it's like, oh, that's what a DVD is, and they had it playing there, and it is Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow.
Ah, yes.
That's my go-to every year. I gotta watch Sleepy Hollow. So it's on.
What is that
my queue
on?
right now. I don't know which streaming channel it's on. I ended up just buying it a couple years ago just so I could have it for all time, just so I could have it ready to go and I didn't have to put in a DVD.
It is so good. It is so good.
It's the quintessential Halloween movie for me, like hands down.
So can I have an honorable mention?
Yes, you can.
I thought of one in the midst of all of this. I would like to give a shout out to Ernest Scared Stupid with the trolls that they have to fight off with squirt guns filled with milk. You guys, did you watch the Ernest movies?
Not
Would that
really.
have been big in the Waggoner family?
Not
Ernest
really.
scares Ernest saves Christmas. Ernest goes to jail. Ernest goes to summer camp. All of those. But Ernest Scared Stupid, the Halloween one, was my favorite as a kid. Yeah. So shout out to Ernest.
And
Scared
I love
Stupid.
that you've got the very family friendly list, and then I've got more of the horror and classics list. I appreciate the energy you're bringing to this.
I didn't find scary, crazy movies until sophomore year of college. Carlos,
of course,
made me watch all of those. And like all the exorcism movies, all of those.
Some of them I can't. I know that the Conjuring is kind of in that same realm, but it's the most palatable of all of them. I can't do it.
I can't do some of these things.
No. Can't do it.
And I don't like crazy gore like that. And so like some of the more horror ones, I just can't do it. But I also think of just like scary movies like M. Night Shyamalan. Like those are fun, good, like more thrillers, you know?
That is true. Yeah. I was trying to think of Signed happening. I was trying to think if like Signed, if that would fit in here. I mean, it kind of all sort of does, but if it's spooky, if it scares you, you know what? Watch it. But Eddie, do you have some suggestions for people on Disney Plus? I know you said Hocus Pocus. We've got 1 and 2 on there already, but
so we are big fans of the new Mickey Mouse shorts, and just all those styles. And you've had like the Wonderful World of Mickey Mouse, and they've done like winter and spring and summer. Well, the very first one is they did the Mickey Mouse Halloween Spooktacular. Have you seen this?
We literally watched that right before we got onto this podcast. That was what we were watching.
We love this thing. Like we have to ration how often Lewis gets to watch this because he just could watch it on repeat all the time. And I love it too. I think it is hilarious. It's also like, this is a kid's cartoon. Like it's got some edginess to it in the storytelling. But I would say if you haven't watched it, it's a 22 minutes well spent to go watch. It's just a good old, and they've got great gags in it. There's just so many great gags throughout that whole thing.
That was going to be the top of my list to suggest to people, but there's also one that we didn't mention in any of our lists. Was we still got the Nightmare Before Christmas. If you wanted to watch it as a Halloween movie or is it a Christmas movie, Some of you are going to be like, no, that's a Halloween movie. So you got that. There's the Haunted Mansion.
How much? What did we give that? I'm looking up what we ended up.
You're going to go look at that while I'm. Are you finding that?
No, it got buried. I can't find it in the list.
It's up. It's up pretty early. It's pretty early in our list, but there's also the Muppets Haunted Mansion that came out last year,
which you did not like.
Yeah, I didn't really care for it. It was mostly for you, Eddie. We
just rewatched that, and I'm like, what was JB smoking? This is so good. Yeah.
And I also was just like kind of going down through here, but Halloween Town, there's a lot of, that's a cult favorite. Not my favorite at all. Fell asleep in that movie. You were texting me through it. It was so bad. But there's some stuff for you guys to watch. If you're sitting there going, hey, Disney, give me some Halloween stuff. Well, they've got a whole Halloween section. Yep. It's not like the most amazing, and it's not super scary stuff on there because, come on, guys, it's Disney Plus. You probably have to go over to Hulu for that. But
I thought you would have mentioned the classic Disney Channel movie Twitches.
I didn't even know it existed until I saw it earlier while I was perusing.
Yeah, the two twin witches. You would say that is Twitches. Tia and Tamara. There we go.
But that's it. That's all the Disney news we got for you today. But that's not what we're here for. We're here to continue talking about all the movies from 1987 to 2005, aka our childhood. And today's film is another sports comeback story. All the things that you expect from a movie of that type, and that is The Rookie.
Cue the Disneyest sound effect.
Okay, IMDb description for The Rookie from 2001. We're in 2002. Sorry.
We're in 2. We covered this last week. Where were you? Come on.
Where was I? Reading everything. Okay, so IMDb description for this is a Texas baseball coach makes the major league after agreeing to try out if his high school team made the playoffs. Okay.
Solid,
very vague, but you know what? It's okay. Eddie, what was your favorite half of this film, of these two films? I mean, one film. Did you feel that too? That this was like two films just kind of like smushed together? We got the story of the rising team that doesn't believe in themselves, but learns to believe in themselves. And then you've got this old guy who's 40 something trying to make it big in because he never did before. Did you feel the tension of that at all?
I didn't feel the tension of that. To me, that kind of made sense. I felt like that kind of flowed a little bit. What I felt the tension for was the weird story at the beginning that they bring back quickly at the end.
With the nuns and the baseball diamond.
And the flower, the rose petals and everything like that.
Trying to make this Field of Dreams or something like that.
Yeah.
Is that what it was they were trying to do there?
I just didn't track with that very much at all. Like, you could have totally left that out. And yes. I would have had the exact same experience.
Because it's funny because they have this whole like, oh, the whole town really cares about this. No, they don't. They only care about football. Nobody cares about baseball. And that whole story should have set up to where this was like the one city inside of all of Texas that loves baseball more than football. But they didn't. It was just like, well, this kind of legend of they have it. And then they move on. Unless he's supposed to be the fulfillment of it. Like,
that's what I'm trying to figure out. You're telling me that later some guy making Major League Baseball was the prayer that these poor sisters prayed over rose petals all these years ago? Like,
for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
He gets back and he gets to play for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
The whole time I was sitting there going like, is this based off a true story? No, this can't be based off. Oh, it actually was. It actually was
Have
based
you
off of a true story.
Had you never seen this before? Was this your first time?
I had, but I forgot all about it. The only thing I remembered was the radar gun. That's it. It's just him doing the radar gun, and obviously it's all the feel good Disney stories. Like he's going to make the team somehow. But that was all I really remembered about it. I forgot all about the kids. Forgot completely about the nuns and the folklore that sets this thing up for so long.
It was just a long setup. They just took too long with it.
Yeah, I know, right? Dennis Quaid isn't in it till like the 20 minutes in or something.
Well, you have the long setup with the nuns, and then you go into the long setup about his childhood.
Yeah.
Which
Brian
is
Cox being horrible to his son the whole time for no reason.
And I mean, it pays off in the end, but it's because you have the weird story about the founding of the town, and then we go to this, then we get to that story. You know, there's just too much setup. There's just too much. I don't know. Yeah, like why are we adding to this? It's already got a decent runtime. Why did you need to tag this on? It just felt like a very odd artistic choice. That being said, if we would just cut off the nuns praying over the town founding story, just trim that away. Even him growing up and moving around as a Navy brat, and you know the complicated relationship with his dad and baseball being his love and everything, that works for me. And I'm even okay with kind of the bifurcated storyline of the high school team making districts to kind of push him to go try out. And then, you know, him, you know, fulfilling this dream of pitching in the majors. I think this is Disney sports drama storytelling at its finest. You know, this is just Disney. They are really good at this, to tell a good, compelling story that just tugs at your heartstrings. Now, I know I'm the more emotional one of the two of us, and that somehow your emotion chip fell out somewhere in the birthing process. But I was choking back the tears at the end.
The part...
it was heart-wrenching, and I don't remember it being that kind of heart-wrenching and emotional there at the end. Like, yeah, it really tugged at me.
The part that got me, that I actually did start to like tear up at, when he's on the phone with his wife and she says, "You know who you got to tell now."
Yes.
And then he just takes a moment, gets the kid on the line, and then he tells his son. That's the part where I was like inside just like weeping hysterically, thinking about this.
You were weeping on the inside. I'm weeping on the outside.
Exactly what you'd expect for us to be doing.
I carry enough emotion for the two of us. But the moment, you're right, the moment she says that, and then he just kind of, and this is where, I don't know, like I guess I've never thought of Dennis Quaid as like a really great actor or whatever. But in this movie, there were several moments where I'm like, he's showing his chops. Like, he's not an accidental success here. He's actually a really good actor. And that was one of those moments. He just has this performance is so good. It's subtle. And that moment, he just kind of pulls that phone back a little bit, and you can see him realizing this is hitting him. This is hard. He even gets choked up. It was just such a beautiful little subtle moment that is not easy for actors to pull off.
So the hard part of this film was that mostly the context of me seeing it, because we just recently did Remember the Titans, which is a almost flawless film. Like, it's so good. Next level acting performance by Denzel Washington. He's at his finest. Amazing speeches. Dennis Quaid's speeches in this film are not good. They are not inspiring. They are very subpar. If you look at just like halftime,
Is that Dennis Quaid or is that the character?
I can't, the lines that he was saying didn't, there was no gravitas to them. There wasn't, even if Denzel had said these lines, he would have improvised them and made them better, because the lines themselves were just completely not, they like, we need one win. Or no, 2 years ago, we had one win. Next year, we had 2 wins. This year, we got 16 wins. We need 17. It was just like, blah, blah. That's not. It was so dry. And I don't think he necessarily gave a great performance in them, but at the same time, the content he was working with was not very good. So I would say that's where a part of me was like, no, like I expect if there's gonna be a sports movie, I need a rip roaring, seize the moment, raise everybody else up. Yeah. And it was almost like they didn't really care. Yeah, that's fine. Wait, what are you gonna do, coach? Oh, you haven't lived your dream, but you're telling us to live our dream? Why don't you do it? Hey guys, let's make coach. This would be funny if we made coach like try out. Okay, I guess we're gonna do this long con to get him to actually
this
do
long con.
This thing. That's what it felt like to me. It felt like an afterthought. I was like, oh, he didn't say something super inspiring. They were just like, bro, what if we just made our coach do this thing because he promised he would? Okay, then let's just we gotta really do this. And they committed to the bit as hard as they could. That's kind of, there were some moments. I know that they did go on and they probably had life-changing moments, blah, 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 blah. That's what I felt going. He didn't give them something where like, I would die for this. I would die for Riley. I would die for this coach. I'm like, what did he do that did that for them other than he threw a fast ball?
I love your description there. It is so like cynical, not cynical, of like, what did he do? Like, of course, maybe he changed his life or whatever, blah, 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 blah. Love that. No, I think we expect a Disney sports movie to kind of have the rousing speeches.
Yes.
You know, you've got Remember the Titans. Coming up, where in 2004, they released Miracle with Kurt Russell. Amazing big speech moments in that movie. This, I don't know. I think for this one, I loved the personal, more individual story of this, where those two movies are very much about the team accomplishing, and we have these huge, rousing moments. This was, for me, a totally different sports film.
It wasn't a team movie.
It wasn't. It was about this individual, and I walked away going, I love how measured this movie was. That they lingered on shots, you know, like him at night under the headlights throwing the ball up against the fence. Like, one, that it was just beautifully composed. It was a beautiful shot. And then second of all, it just kind of shows the long frustration of him as an individual not pursuing or not being able to attain his dream. Like, there's just so many little like vignettes and scenes in this movie that I felt like, yeah, this is just a totally different sports film. It is an intimate kind of personal view on one person's struggle to reach their dreams within the sports arena. And I have to say, while I'm on this rant, I am not a fan of baseball. I have been very open about this. I find baseball boring. But it felt like this film, I'm not saying this film was boring, but I'm saying I felt like this film reflected the sport.
In that,
like, well, you think about it, like, okay, let's just take the other ones. Like, football and hockey are both high intensity, very physical games, very much oriented around the team. You have to have the team. Baseball is a lot slower, a little more measured.
Yeah.
And it is a little more focused on the individual players and their individual impact. So for me, it felt more like this film reflected the sport instead of kind of shoehorning in this. Plus, how is a baseball coach ever going to give a rousing speech about such a boring sport? There's nothing to get excited and pump people up about with this.
No, what about home runs, Eddie? You don't love a good home run or stolen base?
Yeah, it's always the home run is given by like
double play, triple plays.
Home run's always done by like the big chubby guy, and then he's like waddling the bases, and it's like, well, of course he wants to hit a home run, so that way he doesn't have to run. That's his motivation.
Exactly why they want to hit home runs. The diving catches, the grabbing it right before it gets out, right before he hits the home run, grabbing it right before the fan can grab it.
Right out of the fence.
Right out of the fence.
Yeah. No, baseball is just not my thing. But I did enjoy this movie. It had been a really long time since I had seen this. The first part, is a bit slow as it's kind of coming together. But I think it's well shot. And I liked the soundtrack. I think this is key to a good sports movie. I realized this as I was watching this. Like, sports movies need to have a lot of needle drops in them. Like, just give me, what was the soundtrack of the time and stuff, and especially some good kind of like honky tonk country is mixed in here.
We got to have the big dramatic pieces, but then you also got to have when the sidekick is doing their thing, the bum 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 bum, when the guys are trying to figure out how to stop the deer from eating all the grass, and you get their little tune that's going on right there.
I think we need to change our intro to this podcast and just use you doing that little sidekick song right there. Copyrighted by Honey, We Made a Disney Podcast Incorporated.
We got the actor from 2.5 Men, the half part of that. This is, I don't know if this is his movie debut, but he's here early on, and then I think he was already a part of 2.5 Men at this point. Maybe they were trying to prop up this movie a little bit with some more star power, but his wife,
Rachel Griffith,
she's been in a lot of things as well that are all slipping my mind because I lost the IMDb screen that I normally have right here that tells me all the information that can sound more powerful. But she is a powerful Texas woman. She don't need a man helping her keep things running at the house. So
such a great line in that movie. I think the phone scenes between the two of them and her in particular, there's just some really fine, subtle acting throughout all those scenes that I don't know. I thought they were really good.
Her measured way of not saying that she really didn't want him to do it, and then finally telling him he's crushed. Then she comes back around and says, no, you need to do it. And then her just full commitment. I'm supporting you in this endeavor. We're going to make it work. I will say like that is a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot of good energy from her on that. So I will, for sure. I'll give it a little bit more. A little bit more love. A little bit more love. You're wooing me a little bit higher as I think about how I'm going to rate this film, because I had no idea coming in here what I'm going to rate it. But I don't want us to jump to that unless you've got other things you want to talk about other than the quintessential pitching in the rain. We got two of them in here, with him as a young kid and now him as an adult in tryouts.
And I said it earlier, I think this is a really beautifully shot film, and that they just kind of took their time with some of the shots. And there's some really iconic scenes. Yes, you've got him pitching in the rain is a good one. The headlights against the chain link that I mentioned before. You'd mentioned on the side of the road, pitching past the speed radar sign, and then him walking past it and you see it blink on. It was, thought he was 75, but it was actually 95. All of those things. I was like, there's just some really well constructed vignettes or images that as I was watching this, I'm like, wow, this is I remember these, just kind of the look and the feel of some of these shots. Is Purdy. That's what I'm saying. It was a Purdy movie.
Purdy. Well, Eddie, I'm so mad that I didn't make this the intro, the segue for this film, this line. You know what we get to do today, Brooks? We get to play baseball. I should have made that. You know what we get to do, Eddie? We get to talk about baseball. Is talking about baseball better or worse than watching baseball?
Ooh, that's really hard. I think the worst is somebody trying to talk to you about baseball when you don't want to talk about baseball.
You don't watch the world. You don't watch the playoffs every year, the World Series hunt.
No, I think maybe like I've caught 10 minutes in the past few years. A year ago, I went to my very first professional baseball game.
Saw Dodgers and Reds close up.
If you can see hanging up here on my wall, I do have LA Dodgers jersey hanging up there, but that was a gift from a close friend. We went to the game. We got third row behind home plate.
Yeah, that was crazy.
With an all-you-can-eat prime beef buffet beforehand. Then during the game, at the top and bottom of every inning, somebody walked through and it was all-you-could-eat ballpark concessions. So as you can imagine, my priorities shifted real quickly. Didn't care as much about the game and was more focused on how many peanuts and popcorn and slushies I could consume in the course of this free endeavor. But that was the best baseball game I have ever watched, seen, been to, period.
That sounds amazing. Being that close to the field for Dodgers game, I'm very jealous.
I felt so bad because it was so wasted on me. But went with close friends who are one's a Reds fan, one's a Dodgers fan. So they enjoyed it. They had a blast.
So looking through my notes, one thing I want to talk about, Eddie, would you have left your child in a stroller? When he put him in the stroller and pulled him right out to the gate, then that was okay. But the whole time I'm sitting there freaking out. I'm like, what is he going to do? He has no one to watch his like newborn child.
I would have done it.
He's going to give it to a mom that's like nearby. But then he wheeled him out in the stroller right next to the gate. And I was like, this just works. Just barely works. What did you think?
Well, yes, it just barely works. And I'm like, I could see myself trying to try that a little bit. But then it starts raining, right? And the whole time I'm going, what about the baby? It's the baby. Did he like run back and put the baby back? Are you leaving the baby out in the rain? You can't leave a baby out in the rain.
Tryout. The rain was a separate tryout, though.
No, I thought it was. Well, maybe you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, the rain wasn't the same tryout. That was like he went and then he got all the callbacks to come back and prove that it wasn't a fluke.
But I know that because they had him like pitch however many times. It's, well, yeah. I was thinking, okay, what is he doing with his baby though? Like this is getting a little bit longer. This is a little bit harder. I thought you were going to ask, would you ever leave your family to go pursue something like that? It's like, no.
3 months on the road.
No, I'm not doing that. I spent 3 weeks away from my family by accident back in January. I was going to come here for like a week, get the house set up, go back, get them, and then fly back down, and tested positive for COVID. So I couldn't get back in the US for another 10 days. So I ended up being like 3 weeks away from my family, and I almost lost my mind being away from them. It's like, no, thank you. No dream in baseball is ever big enough or important enough for me to walk away from my family for a month, let alone 3 months or however long it was for 2 years.
It's crazy to think about all.
And he just throws 3 pitches. That was, I did kind of feel that at the end of the movie where I'm like, oh, so he just got up and he just struck out one guy.
That's all you got to do as a reliever. You just got to get your guy out. But then he had a career. He had a 2-year great span of time there.
You know what? I was feeling higher on this movie, and then I did some Wikipedia digging a little bit.
Oh yeah, how close it is to the original story.
It's actually really, really close. It's actually really, really close. But I feel like one of the things that I loved the most about this movie was the husband and wife relationship and just their communication, their support or whatever. As soon as he got out of the major leagues, they got a divorce.
No.
Yeah. And I'm like,
stop.
Oh no, that breaks my heart.
Because he couldn't handle not being in the major leagues anymore.
Well, I have no idea. Wikipedia is not going to tell us why they got a divorce.
I need to know the story now. I'm going to have to do some digging.
It was hard.
I need some TMZ. Something. I need a video. I need something. That's so horrible.
Yeah. I was like,
and they moved this movie anyways. They're like, we'll just cut that part out.
But
oh my gosh. Okay.
There it is anyway.
Eddie, so
I'm going to let you go first.
You're going to let me go first?
You need to wrestle this one out.
Eddie,
here.
I've been thinking about this, and I have the perfect number for this film. I have the perfect number. I've nailed the number of this film.
I love the two finger to the lips.
So I'm giving this straight down the middle, 2.5.
Whoa.
2.5. This is right down the middle because it is neither bad nor great.
Would you watch it again?
I don't really care to watch it again. I was surprised at the ways that it moved me. And at the same time, I don't really care to watch it again. That's why it hurt me that, and I took some points off for the lack of inspirational speeches, but it did all the notes that the majority, I'll say most of the notes it's supposed to, but for that, because it basically just did them, that's where I'm giving it right down the middle, 2.5. I don't know if I have any 2.5s on my scorecards, but I felt like this was the perfect 2.5.
Oh, you've got some 2.5s.
I do have some 2.5s.
Yeah.
What else did I give 2.5 to?
Pocahontas. You gave Pocahontas a 2.5.
You know what? That's the one you always bring up. Whenever we bring up grades, you always bring up. Okay,
Fantasia 2000. You gave it a 2.5. We gave Dinosaur a 2.5.
I like Dinosaur more than this film. I was emotionally pulled into Dinosaur. Now I'm like, should I give this a 2 instead? But no.
So
right in the middle. There we go.
I had a different experience. I went into this going, I don't remember this movie. It's baseball. I'm not going to like this movie. Watched it and was so moved. That ending was such a tearjerker. There was 3 or 4 moments there where I was really, really tearing up. I got to say, I was coming into this discussion thinking a little more along the lines of maybe giving it as high as a 4. I know. But I think, yes, talking it out, definitely well-made points. I think I would bring mine down a whole point. I think I'd come down to a 3. Okay. I like this. I would sit down and watch this again. I'd just fast forward the part with the nuns.
Don't need the nuns.
I'll give it a 3.
Okay. Well, there you go.
And with that, your life has forever been changed by another episode of Honey, We Made a Disney Podcast.
Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to your other favorite podcasts, like this one. And while you're there, please leave us a 5-star review or share it with your best friend.
You can also check us out at honeywemade.com, where you can see our full movie list that we referenced as we continue to go through all the Disney movies of 1988 to 2005, better known as our childhood, including next week when we review Lilo and Stitch.
Ooh, excited about that. Thank you for listening. And remember, you don't have dreams, you don't have nothing.